even get to that point, though, I want to say hello really quickly to Angel Maria and who else is here? Let's see. I see Zakia Ali and Henry Irvin from Austin, Texas. Austin, South by Southwest. My brother's there right now because they're doing a bunch of investing stuff out there, and he is in the venture capital space. I'm super proud of him. He's my baby brother, and he was my number one business partner for years. And I can tell you, if you really want to enjoy your life, if you really want to just have a fun life, and then also, if you want to give your kids a fun life, here's something I recommend you consider. Start a Spend time learning how to start a business and start a good business with like a sibling or a family member that you care about. You would be amazed at how it just gives you things that money can't buy. It ain't even about the money. I mean, my brother and I, yeah, we made some money and it was great, but it was so deeper than just the money, so much deeper than that. Like I feel like I got a chance to spend this life with him as opposed to one thing that most of us are not conscious about. Remember, this is money consciousness. Most people are not conscious of how the corporate plantation steals you from your family. Most of us don't even calculate how many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of hours we give to our boss. They could have been spent with family, could have been spent with our parents before they got old and died. It could have been spent with our kids, could have been spent with people that we actually enjoy being around. But instead, because you didn't get a capital base, no one helped you graduate. Remember the terms we use now, instead of graduation meaning that you got a diploma, graduation means you get a capital base where you can hopefully achieve the singularity. And I don't know if y'all remember the singularity. The singularity is where you can make as much money outside of your job as you make on your job. And some of you have achieved the singularity. So we're literally redefining Black finance here. We're redefining Black wealth. And I can just tell you that just from in terms of a consciousness exercise, and I've done this before. I'm going to do it over and over again so you'll understand this. Think about this. If you spend 50 hours a week dealing with the job, right? 8 hours a week at the job, 2 hours or 2 hours a day. Let's say 8 hours a week. Sorry, 40 hours a week at the job, 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day, either getting ready for work, coming home from work, recovering from work, all that stuff in traffic, all that. That's 50 hours a week, 50 times 50. If you get 2 weeks of vacation a year, that's 2,500 hours a year. Y'all follow me? Give me a yes if you're following this math here. So that's 2,500 hours a year. Over a decade, 2,500 times 10 is 25,000 hours. Over a 40-year work life, that's 100,000 hours. 100,000 hours. Most of us don't work 40 years, though. Most of us work 50 years. Especially now that we're in the middle of a retirement crisis that's not going to ever end. And basically, people now are working, in their late 60s and 70s now. So now they're working into retirement. Some people like me, I got my first job when I was 12. Maybe I was 11. I don't remember. I was a kid. Maybe I was 12. I think I was 12. And so a lot of y'all been working your whole life. So process that. That's over 100,000 hours of time that you're spending doing what? Doing what? I mean, life is precious. Life is short. There are people right now, and my wife works in hospice. My wife's a therapist. She helped us start the first ever Black financial therapy department where we are dealing with the psychological barriers to Black wealth. We're dealing with the slave culture. We're dealing with the broken mentalities. We're dealing with the trauma. We're dealing with the broken families. We're dealing with all the psychological barriers, right? And we're doing it with scientists, not with YouTube influencers, not with people that know a little bit, but people that know a lot, people that have doctorates in this. We're doing medical research practically on this topic. She works in hospice and she talks to families every day, that some of whom have a loved one sometimes in their 30s or 40s that is incapacitated, had a stroke, can't talk, about to die. And it's a whole nother sobering reality that makes you really count your blessings. And so to me, life is precious. Life is valuable. Time is precious. Time means so much. Time means so much to me. I think about time all the time. Time is a massive financial concept. Time is literally the most impactful variable in any financial equation that I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. And the thing is, and here's the thing, this is the worst part that the corporation takes from you. This is the worst thing that they do with that curse of white supremacy and capitalism blended together that constrains you, is they steal your time. They steal your time that should be invested in your kids. You're investing in that job. The time that should be invested in your wife. You're investing with your boss. The time that should be invested in spending time with your parents before they die, because they always die. You're spending doing what? Doing what? And so really part of your money meditation and financial consciousness I want us to start with is I want you to really ask yourself, what am I doing with my time? And why do I not understand the value of my time, and why do I sell my time so cheaply? Because money, there's an infinite supply of money. They can print money, but you can't print time. You can't make yourself live to be 150 years old. You're going to die at some point, and then you're going to look back. And when you're in hospice or wherever, in the hospital, wherever you go out, and you're sitting in that bed, I think about this. I meditate on this all the time. I meditate when I am in the hospital, and hopefully I'll be very old when this happens, but I could be end up younger than I expect. And I'm laying in that bed, and the doctor tells me, Boyce isn't going to go home. We can't let him go home. He's going to have to stay here, and we all we can do is ease the pain. All I'll have are my memories. All I'll have is a reflection on what I did with my time, and I don't want that reflection to be one where I say, "Damn, I wasted so much time doing stuff that meant absolutely nothing." So these little meditations make a big difference in how you invest your life. Your time is the biggest investment that you'll ever make. That's extremely important. Okay, so anyway, let's do this. What I want to do actually is I'm going to blow up your phones. In case you haven't done so yet, make sure you text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And you'll get an alert when we start our Money in the Morning financial consciousness training. We do this every single morning, 7 days a week at 10 a.m. Eastern to get in the habit of thinking about money every single morning. Also, tonight we're doing a free Forex training. You should have gotten a link for that. I don't have the link right here with me. I'll send you another link to remind you right before the event. But I sent you all the link not too long ago. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to send out a quick text alert to those who need a wake-up call. So give me 1 second here. All right. So I saw this video of this that was actually shared by, believe it or not, Candace Owens, a person who is controversial to say the least. But it was an interesting video because I think it's a money meditation that you're not really going to see anywhere else. Oh, what is Forex? Forex is the key. You should look it up. Forex is basically trading currencies. It's the biggest market in the world, the most liquid market in the world. So Michael Edwards is coming in and doing a Forex training tonight. I don't have the link to join that right in front of me, but I can get that to you. There was a link that I sent you guys not too long ago on 13 side hustles you can start for under $100. This is free from the Black Business School. I'll give that to you in a second, but let me talk about this video before I get distracted. So I'm gonna pull up this video, and it was some show. I don't know what the show is, but basically it showed it's where I don't tell me y'all tell me what the show's called. It's where people evaluate a guy, and if they don't like the guy, they pop the balloon and basically tell the guy like to get lost, like I'm not interested in you. So the guy walks in the room and there's like 7 or 8 women standing there. And when the guy comes in, the women are like they evaluate him, they ask him questions, and if they don't like him, they'll just pop the balloon and then pop like one by one. And I don't know what happens if someone doesn't pop, but they pop to let you know like I don't like you, I don't want to be with you, right? So it's like a dating show. Does anybody know what that show's called? I don't know what the show's called. Anyway, all right, so let me show you the clip, and then maybe you'll identify it when you see it. And this is interesting because this isn't a really important money meditation that I want you to do. This is where I can add value, I think, to your life, because I like to talk about finance in ways that where you think it has nothing to do with economics. But watch this. Here's the video. Let me know. Give me a yes if you can hear the video when I play it. So I'm gonna play it right now.
And what's your name?
Malcolm.
Okay.
What was that?
Malcolm.
What do you look for in a woman?
That is just genuinely
That's why you
kind.
gotta test
Okay.
this. There's
Cool.
no audio
All
in
right.
this video. Are you kidding me right now? Okay, let me get it another way then. Sorry guys. I thought it was gonna work. See, that's why you test stuff. You gotta see, boys, you gotta test stuff. Okay. All right, but I do have a plan B. That is true. So let me go ahead, and the video worked, but the audio didn't. I don't know what's going on with that. All right, so let me pull this version up. Here we go. This is on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. If you want to come in there and have some arguments with me, feel free to follow me at Dr. Boyce Finance. So here we go. Oh, you know what it was playing, and you know what happened? I had my volume turned down to 0. That's what happened. So it was actually on me. So I did do okay. Anyway, let me just play it on here. Here we go.
Okay. Cool. All right.
It is what it is. Everybody likes what they like.
Hold on, let me start it from the beginning. Okay.
Welcome in. What's your name?
Malcolm.
What was that?
Malcolm.
What do you look for in a woman?
That is just genuinely kind.
Okay.
So,
Cool. All right.
it is what it is. Everybody likes what they like.
Okay. Oh. End up popping your balloon.
Your skinny jeans. I don't like skinny jeans on men.
Why did you end up popping your balloon?
I just wish like you would have gotten the beard a little lined up.
Why did you end up popping your balloon?
I like a darker complexion. Just like taller, darker. I'm pretty short, but we're kind of almost around the same height with my husband.
Almost is.
Why did you end up popping your balloon?
You said you're 5'10". I don't think you're 5'10".
6 foot?
No, baby. I'm 5'7", but maybe 5'9".
I mean, with the heels off, I'm 5'9".
You look good though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like the Cam Newton hat.
We gotta do like that. Can't be like Alicia Keys, like Erica.
That's my baby, so I can't just.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, I'm glad I popped the balloon.
Is she your type?
She has a good precedent about her. Most any woman that's like that, that are ready to say.
Why did you end up popping your balloon?
I didn't like that petty comment. That was not cute. You could have said Erica Badu. You could have said anybody else, but Cam Newton, like, come on. And he has locks. Like, his locks are not the best. So, like,
I'm not looking at that grown man's locks.
Welcome in. What's your name?
All right. So let me go ahead and hit the pause button.
Malcolm.
Okay. So were y'all able to hear the video? Give me a yes if you're able to hear it. Let's see. Someone says there's too much buffering. Says Ginger. Okay. Sorry if there was buffering, Ginger. It looks like it might have been on your end. You might want to check the Wi-Fi connection. Okay. Not good sound. Okay. All right. But you were able to get the gist of it, right? Every time you heard the pop, that was the women basically saying I don't like that guy or whatever, right? And what I did was I took notes. You know, I'm a scientist, so I study everything. I study money, I study people, I study Black culture, I study all the little stuff. And so I took notes of, what the women were saying, about this guy. Now, again, just to be clear, this is not a dating class. I'm not here to tell anybody what to date or nothing like that. We're not getting into that. I just want us to have a money meditation around culture. Now, remember, in my book, the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I talk extensively about economic culture. And the thing is that to understand how things end up the way they end up, how you end up with broken families and poor, poor people and economic struggle, you have to go back to the beginning. You got to go to the root. You got to go to the core. Success is not something that typically happens by accident. Wealth does not happen by accident. Wealth tends to happen when you are strategic. So you got to look at dating, because what does dating do? Dating is where human beings decide to get together and procreate and create children, right? That's without that whole construct, right? We think that it's like, oh, these young people, they out here just getting wild, running to the club and all. Well, no, they're in the mating phase. They're in the mating dating phase. So that's why the girls are checking out the guys are checking out the girls, and they're trying to decide what the next step is going to be. Then you get a little bit older and you move out of that mating dating phase and you settle into something different. So what I noticed is that the first lady said, I don't like your skinny jeans. The second one talked about the beard. The third one talked about his complexion. And the fourth one mentioned his height. Now, again, I think it's totally fine. I don't like skinny jeans either. I tried some on. I looked like I don't date women when I wore those things. I literally, my wife, if she'd seen me in those skinny jeans, she probably would have divorced me on the spot. I don't know. Or at the very least, she would have thought about it. She would have said, take them damn things off. You look crazy. So I'm not knocking any of that. Right. We all have preferences. Everybody does. Men do too. We know, y'all know how men are. We're visual. We like the stuff that we like. But I want to point this out because it was interesting to me. I was thinking, okay, so you didn't like the skinny jeans, but jeans can be changed, right? You can put on different pants. You didn't like the beard, where beards can be grown and they can be cut off. Jalen Hurts, the football player that plays for the Eagles, he cut off his beard, and a lot of women got very upset because he didn't. It wasn't his look. Whatever, right? I get that. Complexion, well, that's hard to change, right? But that's another conversation. And then you have height. Nothing wrong with wanting tall. Most studies show, when I wrote Financial Lovemaking, I studied what makes people attracted to each other. And I noticed one trend I noticed is that women tend to be attracted to strength. And strength is typically communicated in a number of ways. Sometimes it's communicated through height, through muscles, through intelligence. Even comedy is a sign of intelligence, which is why women are attracted to men that are funny. Wealth, power, etc. Right? And there's different ways and different preferences, and everybody's got their thing. So, but on average, a taller man is more preferable to a shorter man. Women, it doesn't seem to matter as much. But that so bear with me as I kind of lay out the framework here of what I'm getting to. All right. So okay. So let me just have a moment of reflection, an honest reflection, at the risk of sounding just like an arrogant prick. I'm gonna mention something to you. Okay. When I was in college, I was a straight A student. I was the number one black student on the entire University of Kentucky campus. I've taught at the University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University. I got several master's degrees, but I didn't pick a lot of them up because I only wanted my PhD. And when I got my PhD in finance, I was the only African American on the planet to get a PhD in finance that year. My first job at Syracuse University, I made $115,000 a year. I could have gotten as much as 140, but I didn't negotiate properly. I then went on to make, probably in the course of my career, I'm going to guess maybe 20 or $30 million or something. I don't know. I don't keep count. Money's not that important. It's the mission. Let me ask you this. Do you think if I was single, and let's say that I said, I'm looking for Mrs. Watkins. I don't have a wife. Let's say I didn't have a wife. Let's say I never got married. And I said, gosh, I'm looking for a woman. Do you think that you know a woman that might want to marry a guy like me? I ain't the most handsome guy in the world. Whatever. I'm not that tall. I'm 5 foot. I'm 5 foot, 5 foot 7 3/4, but I like to give myself 5'8". Um, I'm 52, so I try to fight my gut. I go to the gym every morning, but it still won't go away. Um, I don't have much fashion sense. I went to speak at Lamar Tyler's event. We had no clothes because they lost our luggage at the Atlanta airport. They tend to do that. And so I went to Walmart to get my clothes for the stage that day. So I don't have any fashion sense at all. If I had a beard, it wouldn't be one of those sharp, shiny, cool beards. It would be like kind of a little scraggly, like my beard now. But do you think that there would be somebody, do you think you'd have a friend that might say, yeah, I'll go out on a date with this guy. I'll give him a try. Right? What do you think? Okay. So I'm asking I'm asking a question that is literally so weird that I'm risking sounding like a complete asshole, but I make this point to say to you that, um, that I believe that we don't really connect how we go about choosing mates and choosing partners with what our life outcomes are going to be, particularly financially. I heard the women, if I was in that man's shoes, I felt very bad for that man, because if I was on that show, every balloon probably would have popped the minute I walked through that door. I can't tell you how many times I had, when I was younger, you're 29 trying to figure it out. I can't tell you how many times I had women literally say, I did online dating for a little while. And I can tell you how many times I had women say, "I'm sorry, I don't date men under 6 feet tall," which is their right, of course, it's your preference. But it was just kind of like, I wasn't exactly like anybody's super hot commodity when I was this grad student who was studying all day, who could barely pay the rent, right? Who wasn't necessarily the flashiest. I didn't wear cologne. I didn't know how to do all those little things that might swoon a woman. Um, but my wife and I were very, very close at the time. And despite the fact that some people think that I had been friend zoned or something, I kind of friend zoned myself, because I actually enjoyed being her friend. I know that's crazy for a man to enjoy being a woman's friend. People think that that's weird, but I did. I enjoyed being her friend, and it wasn't, it didn't become romantic till later or whatever. Um, but the thing about it though is, when I did pick her to marry her, I was happy to pick someone who just, appreciated me as a person and appreciated things that didn't have to do with the material, superficial stuff. Right? Now again, everybody's different. Everybody varies, but if you think about it like this, when I was writing Financial Lovemaking, I remember thinking that if you are a young person and you're picking your life partner, your life business partner, marriage is a business. Your economic outcomes and your children's economic outcomes are heavily dependent on which horse you ride. And you say, I'm looking for a partner. I need to make sure they're not wearing skinny jeans. They look good in the beard. They have a nice complexion and that they're a certain height. My question is not so much why you have these things on your list, because those are preferences. But my question is, why didn't you look at the economic prospects of the horse that you're about to ride? Are you looking at all? Because I'm gonna tell you like this. I did run into a few women every now and then who really saw me as a catch. They were like, "Oh, look at," and you know who would always see it? I kid you not. I would date girls and it would be their mothers. It would be their 45-year-old mother who would be like, "Girl, you better hold on to him. This guy's he's gonna be something." Because they had vision. You understand? They saw 20 years down the road. They weren't looking at the 25-year-old boys. They were looking at the 45-year-old boys. And they said, the way this guy moves, he's gonna be something. I don't know. I swear to God, I had I'm not making this up. I had this really terrible girlfriend in college. She was so mean. But her mother was real cool. And I remember her mother, when I was 19, her mother looked at me and she said, "I think I have you figured out, Boyce." And I said, "You do?" And she said, "Yeah, you like things neat, but you're not a neat person." And then she said, "I don't know if you're gonna be rich one day, but you're probably gonna have some money and have some success." And what she was basing it on was, maybe the way I spoke, the fact that I would always have to go, I'd have to leave to go study. She based it on the fact that I was already making good grades in school. She saw me doing things at 19 or 20 that meant that she was pretty much encouraging her daughter to say, "Look, this is what this guy's going to turn into later on down the road." Now, again, I wasn't her preference, and that's okay. It's fine. I was just kidding. When I say she was terrible, it was a blessing that she dumped me. But my point on this is to say that I think that we should really look at dating patterns in the Black community, and you must connect economic despair to the way we choose our partners. And the same thing is true for men. If you're a man and all you can see with a woman is how pretty her smile is or how nice her booty is, and you're not thinking about all the other 10,000 variables that have to come into play when it comes to building a solid family and building economic stability in a country where stability is disappearing more and more every day, you're gonna have to ask about more than just what somebody looks like or how good they look in their jeans. Jeans can be changed. But a person, it's much harder to change the core of a person than it is to change the genes that they have on their body. And so ultimately, what I would say to you is there's nothing wrong with this list these ladies had, right? But my thing is, I think you got to add to that list. You have to look at financial compatibility and figure out, okay, I'm getting on this train. Where's this train going? You don't just get on a train because it's a beautiful train. Some of these trains are headed off a cliff. Is this train going to go far, or is it going to break down in the next 2 miles? I can't tell you how many times I saw women chasing after the most broken, dastardly men I've ever seen in my life. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, your children's dad is going to be this drug addicted, sex addicted, financially irresponsible buffoon. Good for you. Good luck with that. You're going to be cleaning up messes for the next 50 years. And I think that we kind of, we forget that everything that glitters ain't gold. We forget that. And we also don't understand that there is a functional aspect of family relationships and marriage and reproduction that goes beyond just having good sex with somebody who looks good. And I think it's connected to trauma because trauma impacts our addiction. So if you're a person who has addictions to sex or addictions to love, because there are people that are love addicts. I read this. There are people that are addicted to the act of falling in love. Like anybody ever have a friend that has nothing, always has these like 6 to 9 month relationships? And then like in the beginning, the new person is always amazing and wonderful. And then 9 months later, it's like, oh, I can't stand so-and-so. And every time you see them, you expect them to have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend, right? That person could be a love addict because literally there are chemicals in your brain, like dopamine, phenylethylamine, etc., that literally give you the high of a crackhead. So that's why people get so excited when they fall in love. Like, this is the things I studied when I wrote that book, Financial Lovemaking. And so trauma can open the door for these addictions as ways to deal with the trauma, right? Because you did not diagnose, you did not treat your trauma, you're constantly in pain. Well, guess what? What makes the pain go away? More dopamine, more drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, whatever it is, food. Sometimes it's food, right? A lot of us, we have that obesity issue in the community. We have that issue with people's some people and some of us, I mean, some sexual irresponsibility, right? A lot of these are addictions that don't get defined as addictions. Shopping could be an addiction as well. And think about the negative consequences of all of these addictions. Think about what that does to your life, how that deteriorates your finances, how that creates instability in your life. So this is why my wife is a therapist, would probably agree that treating your trauma is a great pathway to becoming a healthier individual that's capable of making healthier decisions. You're not constantly running to the fridge or running to the mall or running to get in the bed with Tom, Dick, and Harry or Sally in order to feel better because you somehow have not found a healthy coping mechanism for the pain that you've been in since your daddy left you when you were 4, or since you got beat up in the streets or got shot at in the hood when you were 12 years old. Whatever trauma you went through, trauma is very, very high in the Black community. There's an oversupply of trauma. So when I saw this video, I thought I'd bring this to class as a money consciousness exercise to really just say that you got to extend that list when you're picking a partner. There are cultures, when we talk about wealthy cultures, most cultures that breed and generate wealth are cultures where they do not take marriage and mating and reproduction lightly. They do not say just go jump in the bed with anybody who looks good. No, they think of it as the combination of power, right? Marriage and all this other stuff and family, that can either be your come up or that can be the thing that destroys you. And so in my view, a conscious, intelligent person who is able to have some emotional intelligence, which is something that we should develop. We should consciously develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, at the very least, means that you're not letting your initial emotion drive your decision making. You're not just jumping at something because it looks good or sounds good or feels good and whatever. Like in church, like we go crazy and we just want to do stuff because it feels good. You back up and you say, okay, let me meditate on, let me process this, let me think about this for a little while. And that's hard to get. That takes a lot of discipline, and there's not a lot of discussion about having the discipline to make good decisions. So that's why you see so many people in pain. That's why you see so many people that have so many regrets. That's why you see so many people that are in relationships where, think about this, process this. When you talk crazy about your ex, when a man says, I can't stand my baby mama, I hate that blankety blank, blah, 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 it's confusing to someone like me because I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, 6 months ago or a year ago, she was the greatest person in the world. You would have died for this person. You would have fought anybody who said something negative about her, but now she's your mortal enemy. That reflects on you as much as it reflects on her. That tells me that maybe you're not able to make rational decisions. I'm gonna give you a true real life story, and link it to economics, so we know this is an economic conversation. I knew a guy who was a pretty successful guy. He was highly educated and he made some money and stuff. And and I saw him and we hadn't seen each other for a while. And I said, "Hey, how you been? How's your life?" And he said, "Man, I'm going through it right now." And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Man, my baby mama, she driving me crazy." And I was like, "Oh, you had a baby? Oh, tell me about it." And now this guy had a PhD, by the way. So he's a professor and he's complaining about his baby mama. And so here's what happened, right? So this guy had gone and got a stripper pregnant or something, right? So now he's all mad because his daughter is being raised by a stripper, which is infuriating to him. And I'm sitting there thinking, why would you have a baby with a stripper? I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have a baby with a stripper. I wouldn't even touch it. I wouldn't. No, if you're a stripper, don't. I don't. Just you're welcome to come to class too. So don't. All strippers don't get offended. But I just wouldn't date you. So I'm not in your. Just you have to know that. But anyway, so. But here's the thing. Here's what I want you. Here's what I want you to process. If you go back in his life, this guy, his mother was not the best person. His mother basically abandoned him when he was 7 years old. So this man, this highly educated, successful man, had these undiagnosed, untreated mommy issues. And it showed up consistently in his relationships because when he started telling me more about the women he dated and the experiences that he had, they were just flat out chaotic. I mean, the stripper wasn't a one-off, it was kind of a pattern. And I thought that was so inconsistent with the person he presented himself as, as a scholar, right? And so I would almost say to you that that generally speaking, I think that one wealth hack is to understand how who you form relationships with is going to have a big impact on your economics. If you don't understand or you can't see it clearly based on what we've said, I want you to sit back and I want you to think about somebody who's been financially ruined because of a bad marriage. Divorce is a multi-billion-dollar industry, by the way. Who's been ruined maybe because they had a child with someone that wasn't the best co-parent, or maybe they spend all their money chasing women or whatever. Also, even just on the funny side, there's a term I heard my friend use that she called it the hobosexual. And I said, "What's a hobosexual?" And she said, "Well, it's basically these men who go and they find these super high income black women who are single, who are in their 40s and 50s, who are looking for a man, and they just go lay up with the women so they can get their money." So she called them hobosexuals. And so and you know what, it made me think about a friend that I had who went to an Ivy League school, who made about 300,000 or 400,000 a year. She was in her late 40s and single, and she started dating a guy. And she was looking at her credit card receipts. She's very meticulous about her finances, and she saw a pair of $600 shoes that were not her size. So she went into private investigator mode, and she went to the shoe store and talked to the clerk and found out that the person that came to buy the shoes was the man that she was dating, and it wasn't her, obviously, that was with him that day. And this is the kind of thing that can happen, right? These are things that happen all the time. And so overall, I think that what one thing I've generally noticed is that when you're not conscious of where you're sort of weak or lacking or deficient, when you have something that you need, like if you have a void that needs to be filled, there are people that will fill that void in exchange for taking your money in the process, right? So if I know you're lonely, then and you've got money, you're a lonely person with money, then you're economically vulnerable because I can get your money by helping you feel less lonely. Another example was I knew a guy, he was 92 years old, and he was an old man that lived by himself. And the reason he lived by himself was because he had no family. The reason he had no family was because he was such a terrible person when he was younger that his whole family moved away from him. He would beat up his wife, he beat up the kids. So he had 5 kids. None of the kids would come see him. His wife wouldn't, left 40 years ago. And so he was living by himself, and he had his little social security money, and he had this little girlfriend who was on crack, who would just come to his house whenever he got his check, and she would get the check, smoke some crack with him, spend time with him, and get all his money. And that was kind of the arrangement that they made, because this was a person who not only was lonely, but he was also lonely because he had not invested in family, right? So ultimately, these investments are extremely important in terms of what the long-term play is, right? So I think overall, I think one good life strategy is to say, what's the long-term play? What's the end game here? What am I trying to build here? Where am I trying to go? So circling back to that video I showed you, where you had the little girls basically saying, I don't like your skinny jeans, I don't like your beard, I don't like your complexion, I don't like your height. Um, I don't think that's the best way to choose a life partner. I just really don't. I think that when someone's talking like that, I think that if you showed them an image of themselves with that person 30 years later, 40 years later, they would have deeper insights into saying, like, what am I doing here? Like, literally picking, I'm defining my life based on whether the person is wearing skinny jeans or not. And I just don't think that that's economically intelligent. In order for you to have money, in order for you to be in a good situation long term financially, you have to plan for that. And also, not only do you have to plan for that, but you have to plan every aspect of your life that's going to overflow into your economics. And so, your health and your wealth and your relationships are all connected. So, a person who wants to have a wealthy life is going to think about their health, their physical and mental health. They're also going to think about their relationships. They're going to pick relationships that are going to accelerate their wealth and not deplete from the wealth. And then they're also going to use the wealth to enhance and improve their ability to show up properly in relationships. They're going to use their wealth to allow themselves to have better mental and physical health. So, for example, the wealth that I have allows me to work in a space where my mental health is protected, right? I don't have to go and deal with some terrible boss or somebody is telling me what to do or hollering at me all day, right? And so ultimately, all these things are connected. So you have to connect these things if you want to be economically conscious. Okay, so let me pull up a couple of slides here. And so in the book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which we've been covering in class, we're on commandment number 5. Now, commandment number 5, or I think we're on commandment number 5. Let me see. Maybe it's number 4. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, number 5, invest in healthy relationships and maintain them, right? So this is what we sort of discussed today. So I'm going to recap that really quickly. Wealth building is a team sport. And basically, with wealth building, not only is it a team sport, but you have what I refer to as gang affiliations. For example, Apple is an economic gang. A gang, pretty much, if you look it up, is a group of people who have a similar goal, who operate under some sort of code of conduct. Maybe they wear some sort of uniform or something that they can identify each other, etc. Right? Maybe a common language, etc. So with Apple, that's a gang. They wear the same little Apple logo. They all work in that big building together to figure out how they can work together to grow Apple into a multi-trillion-dollar entity bigger than it already is. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, is also an economic gang. That is where the United States, Mexico, and Canada got together and said, let's combine forces and become an economic superpower so we can give each other special rules because we're all members of the gang, but we also have a code of conduct that we're committed to where we reduce tariffs and we open up free trade. And the Asian Pacific Union is an economic gang. The LAPD is a gang, right? Police departments, they are typically the biggest gangs in the city. They operate just like gangs. There's a blue code. My father was a cop, and my dad told me that when he joined the police force in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, which is where Breonna Taylor got killed, he says that there were members of the KKK that were actually on the police force way back then, and he said that the blue line was so strong that he said that there were Klansmen on the police force that would protect him before they protected a random white guy in the street. And they did that, partly because there was corruption, right? Police corruption is a real thing, but also it was for survival, right? Think about it. Why do animals operate in flocks? Did anybody teach geese to fly in flocks? Did anybody teach buffalo to run as a herd? Why do they do that? Why do the hyenas hang with the other hyenas? Why do lions or zebras? Why do they kick it with their own? And they didn't go to college. They didn't go to an HBCU to learn that. God taught them that. That's instinct. It's survival instinct. You have power in numbers. Thank you. I see Calvin's comment. Innate instinct. Yeah, Denise Bryan, I see you. Yeah, you have strength in numbers. And what's fascinating is that oppression in America, in my opinion, has dumbed us down so much that we literally operate outside of basic instinct and common sense. There's nothing, the black community, no one in the black community benefits when we are separated, but yet we separate like crazy. And a lot of the reason we separate is because there are so many incentives to do so. There's just this bastardized uh, psychology that's given to us at birth that teaches us to run away from the very people that can protect and support us. Okay. And so ultimately, I fight against that. I'm all for gang affiliation. You are my gang, and being loyal to the gang doesn't just mean you just benefit from the gang. It means that it's a reciprocal relationship. You give to the group. The group gives back to you. Your family is your first gang. That should be. You should literally train your children to be loyal to each other above and beyond anybody outside the family. If you watch that show Yellowstone, when Kevin Costner's character became governor of Montana, First thing he said is everything we do in this office is for the benefit of this family, period. When the Rothschilds, when the original Rothschild came along, I'm talking about the one who was poor, the one who made the family rich. He had four, or I don't want to say 4 or 5 sons. He told his sons, there's no name more important than Rothschild. There's nobody more important than this family. And then he deployed his sons all throughout Europe to push the Rothschild name all throughout the world. And now the Rothschilds are now one of the most powerful, feared families on earth. So if you look up the definition of organization, what you'll find is that organization is defined as a nexus of relationships. So relationship management, relationship building is a critical aspect of wealth building that is often forgotten. Everybody looks at the flashy stuff. Nobody looks at the fundamentals. So issues to consider with relationships as a key to wealth. Number one, strong marriages are wealth builders. Divorce is a wealth killer. So if you cannot find a way to invest properly to increase your probability of staying married, then just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. If you ain't ready to finish the marathon, don't start the race. And if you are going to run the marathon, pick somebody that's a marathon runner. Some of y'all out here trying to run a marathon with a sprinter. Sprinters can't run marathons. Sprinters can run really fast for 100 meters and then they get tired. They get tired in the first 30 seconds. Why would you? And that's what happens when people will marry somebody and they'll be like, oh, to death do you part, and we're going to be together forever. And my question would be, do you see anything in that person's track record that indicates that they even have the qualifications to finish the marathon of love? I mean, did they see their parents? Were their parents married for 50 years? If they saw that, then that to me is a check mark. Have they what have they had the same job for like 25 years? I mean, what evidence do you have other than yapping, people saying stuff, right? People talking. People talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. That's why you get so much of it, because it's easy to talk about what I'm going to do. It's another thing to actually do it. And I believe this is something I believe. I believe it's driven by hip hop culture. What's one thing that drives me crazy about hip hop culture, and I used to say this all the time about guys like Diddy, is just all this yapping. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and people fall for that stuff. They like the fast talking, slick talking, pimp style talking Negro. They love that stuff, and I'm like, and I don't like it. I don't respect it, because I saw that, and I would be like, this Negro make 85 promises and he never keeps any of them. Your words have no value to me. Your words are like inflation. When you print so much money that the money becomes worthless. So your mouth is just printing promises that you never plan to keep. And I don't think we always know the difference. Oh, but I do. I pay very close attention. I'm like, okay, so you said you're gonna do this now. Are you gonna? You said you'd be here Tuesday at 9:00. It's Wednesday at 4:00 and I ain't seen you. Like, what was it? And these are basic core values. This is little things like this are the difference between successful and unsuccessful people. I promise you. I promise you. And again, a consciousness exercise is I want you to look around and pay attention to how many people do that. How many people tell you what they gonna do? I'm gonna do this. I got a New Year's resolution. I'm gonna do blah blah, and they don't follow through. And we just think that's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. You can't build an empire on nothingness. You can't build an empire on a bunch of broken promises. You can't build an empire on the backs of flimsy people. You can't. So ultimately, if I'm trying to build something, if I'm trying to, in fact, actually, let me give you a real life example. One reason I love to do stuff with the Nation of Islam is because most of the people I know from the nation, maybe there are exceptions. I don't know those exceptions, to be honest with you. Most of the men and women I know from the nation, when they tell you they're going to do something, they actually do it. That's because that's a core value that they believe in. Discipline. Yes, discipline. That's what it is. And if you catch yourself doing that, you need to check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like, don't, I mean, really, if you're not gonna keep the commitment, then don't make it. But anyway, let's go back to the whole thing about the whole marriage thing. So, generally speaking, and I am not an expert on marriages and all that. I'm not even gonna pretend, because marriage takes work. But I can tell you that part of what drives me as a husband is that when I married my wife, I'm gonna be honest with you, I settled. I settled. Now, I'm not saying I settled in the sense that she wasn't an amazing pick. I'm not saying I settled in the sense that I married an ugly woman or an undesirable woman. I'm not saying that at all. What I mean is I settled in the sense that in my mind, I said, okay, I'm settling down now. You're my pick. I choose you. That means that I'm not gonna go back and have this remorse and think about all the women I could have picked or all the women I could have married. No, I'm with you. I'm settling with you. That means that if it gets hard, no, I'm with you. I picked you. You're getting on my nerves. No, I picked you. I'm kind of mad about it right now, but I picked you, and this is where I'm at. Right? Like I settled with you. I settled down. And so when I hear people say, well, I ain't gonna settle, I refuse to settle, I'm like, well, maybe you just should never get married because if you never ever ever settle for something and you never ever ever pick, like you never ever make a commitment, then what's the point in claiming that you're building something? You have to at some point commit to something. Like I had to commit to you all, for example, to come in here and talk to you every single morning at 10 a.m. And it's not always easy. Sometimes I want to sleep in, but I settled on this approach, and this is the one I have to stick to now in order to build the foundation of the vision that I had for us in this space. Do you understand? So I want to make this clear. Give me a yes if I cleaned it up enough to make it clear that I'm not saying that my wife was any like third choice or that I settled for nothingness or whatever. No, I picked a woman that I desired immensely, right? Woman of my dreams, and I'm not kidding when I say that. What I mean is that even that term settling is something that I think is misconstrued to mean that you're not optimizing. But the thing is that if you go through life and you're constantly looking for something better, then you'll never be happy with what you have and you'll never commit to what you have. It's like a person that picks a job and then every day they're on monster.com or whatever or LinkedIn looking for a new job. Who the hell wants to work with somebody who comes to work with your company and they're looking for a new job every day? That's not the way it's supposed to work. If you pick something, that's what you settle with. You stick with it. You pour into it. You invest in it. And this concept of commitment runs really deep because it's not just in terms of family. I'm talking about in terms of every single economic institution in the Black community is in jeopardy because you're not committed to the development of those institutions. Why do you think Black businesses die? Because you're not committed to them. You don't. They have a problem. Something goes wrong. You just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know where your commitment is? You know what you're really committed to the most? I'm gonna hurt some of your feelings when I say this. You're committed to white people. You're committed to their businesses. You are. You've been on that job for 10, 15, 20 years. You show up every day on time. No rain, sleet, snow, or hail. You have a bad week, you're still coming to work, you're still doing your job. You fight through, you have discipline. You don't choose to finish the day based on how you feel. Do you understand? You don't say, well, gosh, I'm feeling really bad. I hate this place. This place made me mad. I'm quitting right now. No, you don't. You don't. You say, well, it sucks, but I have no choice. I have to do this. So my thought is, why is it not possible that we can't pick other things that we're equally committed to that are going to actually benefit us? Why can't we be as committed to ourselves as we are to him? And that to me is a basic idea. So I can't speak for my wife because she's not here, but I can tell you, I told my wife, um, I said, I'm married to you. Like I'm not going nowhere, period. I said, if you ever decide to leave me, I'm gonna be like, so where are we going? Right? If my wife leaves me, I'm going with her, right? I will be in the suitcase with her. Like you ain't no, that's not like don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not gonna stalk her and kill her or nothing if she decided to leave, but I said, where I come from, I never saw my father leave my mother. I never saw that. So I don't even know what that even looks like. I heard people do that, but that's not happening with me. Bad day, good day, rain, sleet, snow, or hail. I ain't leaving. So if y'all ever hear, just there's a little note. If you ever hear about Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia getting a divorce, just know that it did not come from me because that's not what I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in sticking with the plan that I made. And so commitment, because commitment is so important when you're talking about institution building. You have to do that. Okay, so let me pull this up. And again, now again, I'm not, if you are divorced or you've gone through your stuff, don't, I'm not judging any of that, right? This is a perspective, right? This is something to consider. I don't want you to feel bad about where you are. I'm not saying you have to commit to what I commit to. I'm saying you have to commit to something. What are you committed to? The things that you're committed to are the things that will grow, because those are the things that you feed. The things that you don't feed will starve and they will die. So just process it that way, and keep that in mind, because this is a wealth building principle. So strong marriages are wealth builders, divorce is a wealth killer, divorce is a multi-billion dollar industry. Prosperity and mutual support are wealth builders. So when you are at peace, and not in the middle of chaos and war are wealth killers. So if you consider images of World War II, in World War II, you had a lot of chaos. You had, if you look at old images of World War II, you see torn down buildings, you see hungry children out in the street with no clothes, you see, people just devastated, you see lots of trauma everywhere. That's what war gives you. Peace and prosperity gives you the opportunity to build. So that ability to manage relationships, minimize conflicts, or better yet, neutralize them, or work through them, is essential to your ability to build with other people. So that ability to de-escalate things like that is found to be an essential ingredient to relationship management, which is also an essential ingredient to the ability to build wealth. I mentioned to you all yesterday Damon Dash. And I don't talk about Damon that much because I like the guy a lot. But I remember Steve Stout was talking about Damon and sort of giving his perspective on Dame Dash. And one thing that I can say is that I think that one of his problems is that he likes to escalate. He likes to get in your face. He likes to yell. He likes to scream. And what's interesting about the black community is that black people love that. Like we admire men who will humiliate people and yell at people and fight with people and create conflict and chaos. Why? Well, because conflict and chaos, it triggers all those unhealthy chemicals that already exist, and all that cortisol that you've been living off of that kills you at an early age, by the way, those stress hormones, it triggers all that because you're addicted to it. You like that. So effectively, the result of that, though, is that if you notice, Jay-Z had to walk away from Damon because he said, I'm trying to do business at $1 billion level. And most billionaires don't want all that drama. They don't want chaos. They don't want yelling, screaming, and fighting all the time. They want something that is more manageable and more constructive. And I worked with Damon, and I saw it, and I was like, this ain't for me, man. I'm not interested in all this. I'm not trying to, like, we're not doing this, right? So ultimately, what I would say to you is that ability to manage and de-escalate is essentially a great wealth skill to have. It's a great skill that wealth builders tend to have. Okay, so let's keep going. Mending relationships is also a wealth builder. Destroying relationships is a wealth killer. So a lot of times we get upset. We cut off people that could be resources for us. Burning bridges might be cool, but it's not a wealth builder. It isolates you. Also, trauma gets in the way of healthy relationships. I would encourage you to consider taking this test called the ACEs test. The ACEs test, ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. The ACEs test will tell you how high you are on the trauma scale. My wife introduced me to it. I took the ACEs test. I'm very high on the trauma scale. I'm very high. And so that told me that I needed to spend some time with my therapist and just do some research on the effects of trauma so that I can actually work through to heal. And my trauma, some of it came from the challenges of my father being such a tough guy. My father was a Vietnam veteran, a police officer, and he was a young guy, a little immature. So sometimes things would be said that would be a little hurtful, and things were not always comfortable. It wasn't the best experience. Growing up in that house, there were benefits though. I mean, I think being in a tough environment makes you a tough person, right? So because I kind of had to deal with that bullying from my dad, bullies don't scare me, right? I don't want to be a bully, right? I empathize with the person being bullied. That's what I do. So when I see somebody being hurt or attacked, or I see somebody harming a child or whatever, I get emotionally connected to that, and that's why I love being a track coach, and I love like being there for kids that don't have a father or whatever. Like I feel like every black man should be everybody's dad because there's so many kids in our community that are hurting. So the benefit of my trauma is that I became very sensitive, very empathic in that way. But the downside is that there was a lot of pain that had to be healed. There was a damaged inner child that really had to be fixed. And so one of the things, for example, and this actually trigger, I don't talk about this much, but since we're in money consciousness and I have to be open with you all, is I noticed that when I talked to Damon Dash and Kanye West, that triggered me because both of those guys like to yell and bark and scream at people. And in both cases, I said, I'm not doing this with you. Like, this is not, this does not intimidate me. You're an asshole. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Just leave me alone. Right. And so at the same time, it's like, I don't think you ever really heal from it completely. Right. Like, your trauma is kind of always there. But my awareness of that trauma really helped me a lot in terms of sort of trying to control it and saying, okay, boys, let's not get triggered today. Let's get ready for whatever you're going to deal with. So that's just my honest truth about this. So, and everybody has their own experience, but I can just definitely tell you, number one, trauma really does kill you. Like, there's all these studies that show that heavily traumatized people, they tend to have like all these physical ailments that come from the trauma. They're more likely to get stuff like cancer and all this other stuff. Um, and then also it definitely affects your relationships, right? It affects you. You have these attachment disorders and everything else. And I don't know the answers to all that. I really don't. I really don't. And this is probably, maybe this is one of the personal reasons why I was so happy to bring so many therapists into the Black Business School, because I'm searching too. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I encourage you to start looking, try to figure, because the more you figure out, the more you understand yourself, and the more you understand yourself, the more you can negotiate your relationship with the world. So as I understand me, I'm better able to kind of say, okay, this is where I need to be. This is where I belong. And right. And I'm comfortable with me. Right. And so I would encourage you to do some of that. And it can also help you to notice your patterns so that you don't keep making the same mistake over and over again. Like, that's a huge one too. I think a lot of us do the same thing over and over again. We don't know why. We don't take the time to figure it out. And next thing you know, you end up wasting your whole life on a bunch of BS. Okay. All right. So anyway, now that I finished my awkward moment of self-reflection, it was very, just so you know, it was very awkward for me to tell you all that story. But it's out there now. It's I've said it. All right. So let's keep going here. All right. So the next thing is that the cure for wealth loss due to unhealthy relationships. Let's look at some of the solutions. We're solution oriented here. Number one, therapy. I think everybody should get therapy, and you don't have to be broken to get therapy. Therapy is something that everybody should get because therapy can really help you to become a better, stronger, more capable human being who is able to find healthy coping mechanisms for your problems that don't end up depleting your wealth or your happiness or your health. Right? Because a lot of us will pay money to heal our pain. We'll you look at a guy who spends all his money chasing random women because he's got this sex addiction, which heals the pain from undiagnosed, untreated trauma. Or you look at some woman who's paying a sugar daddy to spend time with her because she's got this loneliness that's there. Or you look at somebody who's taking drugs in order to heal the pain, and the drugs are destroying their body. So ultimately, therapy can help you to find healthy ways to deal with those issues. Relationship counseling, if you have a relationship with somebody in business, life, or marriage, or even outside of marriage, counseling is good because it'll help you get along with each other. Has anybody ever seen somebody who is constantly fighting with a partner, or some of y'all have gone through that? Has anybody ever noticed how drained you are if you're in a has anybody ever like been in a really bad relationship for a long time where you were fighting constantly to the point of exhaustion, like staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning when you got to get up at 6? Your plan was to get up early and do all this great stuff, and, and you didn't because you're so tired from fighting all night, and then you wake up and you just feel like complete shit. Like anybody go through that? I know that feeling. I hate it. I just hate it. I do not like it. I do not like it. I do not like it. So personally, I think if you can find some way to get along with the people that are around you, that are closest to you, and at least minimize that nonsense, then you're just more productive. You're able to get more stuff done. I've seen a lot of people. What I've noticed is, for example, I've noticed patterns with people where I'll see somebody that's super productive, kicking ass, taking names, getting all kinds of stuff done. Then they'll start a relationship, and then it's like they'll disappear for like 9 months, right? And then and then 9 months later, they'll come back and be like, "Oh, remember that thing we started a year ago, Dr. Boyce? I want to pick it up now." And I'll be like, "Well, where you been?" "Oh, you don't want to know. I've been through it." Right? It's like almost like they went to hell and back, like their own little private hell. And so to me, relationships and all that stuff is very powerful. So in my view, if you do it constructively, you can take that power and use it as an accelerator of your success, as opposed to something that detracts from your success, right? So I would encourage you to really think about these little areas, these really important investments that you're making, because you're sure you're investing money and all that, but really the biggest investments you make in life are your time, your energy, your love, all that stuff. All right, so let's see here. What else? What else is on this page? Reciprocity in your networking strategies. If you are an asset to people around you, they'll want to network with you. They'll want to work with you. But if you're a person who's constantly asking for something, people will avoid you. Believe me, I do that. I don't even answer my phone because most people that call me are asking me for something. But it's rare that someone calls me and actually offers me something that I actually need. People like that, I answer the phone for because I think they understand reciprocity. Forgiveness is a big one too. Forgiveness, not making assumptions, bringing positive energy. There's a book called The Four Agreements. Has anybody heard of that book? The Four Agreements. That book, I haven't even read it, to be honest with you, because somebody told me what the Four Agreements were, and I was like, oh, okay, now I don't need to read the book. I know I do need to read it, but anyway, but the book, The Four Agreements, I don't remember what they were, but I know that I believe that's a good reference in terms of learning how to kind of navigate life without all the anxiety that comes with making false assumptions about other people and what they mean and what they're saying and all that stuff. Also, I find that forgiveness is a powerful tool for you. They say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's really for you, because when you carry that resentment, bitterness, anger, or whatever, it just destroys you on the inside. And so these are more some of these are in the more mental health space, but all that really connects to your economic outcomes. All that's connected. Health, wealth, and relationships are all connected. And what I want to encourage you to do, as we started with in the beginning, is you can't, if you're trying to be a wealth builder and you're really trying to go to the moon, you got to be real careful about the types of people that you let into your space. You have to be conscious of how they're getting in, how close they are, what sort of influence they have. And then when you're making these deep commitments to people, like for example, sleeping with somebody, even if it's only one time, I just think that if you're a wealth builder, you got to process that. You can't just, throw yourself out there in these different situations and think that's going to be okay. My father said something that was pretty wise to me that I appreciated. He said that a person that has a lot to lose shouldn't be around a lot of people who have nothing to lose. And so to me, if you are a person that has big goals, big dreams, etc., well, you know what? You got a lot to lose. You got your whole future that you could lose. Some people don't have a future. Some people don't have a goal. Some people don't have a dream. So they got nothing to lose. Well, if you're a big dreamer, I wouldn't be around people who don't have a dream or don't have a vision. Okay. So be impeccable with your word, take nothing personal, never make assumptions about people, always do your best. That is so simple, right? Those are the simple four agreements. It's crazy that became a best-selling book. But those are like simple ideas, right? Be impeccable with your word. We talked about that earlier. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Take nothing personal. A lot of times when people react to you, they're really reacting to something else. It's more of a reflection of who they are and how they're feeling than it is about you. Also, never, and if you've been on the internet and you just see how trolls operate, you'll understand that. Never make assumptions about people. That's another thing too. A lot of times someone will behave a certain way and we'll assume it's about us, but don't make any assumptions. You don't know what's going on. And then always do your best. I think that's a good one too. Just always do your best, whatever that means to you, whatever that means, do your best at it. Okay. All right. So anyway, before we head out, one more thing I'll share with you. I have a list of assets or that you can invest in if you want to invest in Africa. So here is a link if you want to go take a look at that. I'm gonna put this in the chat, just kind of as a good luck in your investing journey. Africa is one of the fastest growing economies on earth, and I personally think that investing in Africa is a good long-term thing to do for your kids. And then the other thing too is I mentioned to you all that ebook on side hustles and 13 side hustles you can start for under $100 so you can increase your income. And I'll share this link to this ebook with you. And it's free. It's going to have a price on it, but you don't have to pay it with this link. And if that does not work, if the link does not work, I think that the code to use to take the price off, but I think it should take it off automatically. But if it doesn't work, the code would be Morning Hustle 2024. I think that's what it was. Morning Hustle 2024, all one word, Morning Hustle 2024. So feel free to take a look at that. I hope those resources help you in your journey. And tomorrow morning, we will get back together at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you want to get a text alert periodically when we do this, just text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless you. And the book I was referencing today is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can go to drboycebooks.com to get a copy. And you can also get a copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking, there as well, and all that good stuff. So have a good day.